Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I didn't really plan on doing this video, but after seeing all your comments and questions about how the Sony WF-1000XM4 stack up against other earbuds, I decided to make a quick comparison video with some of the best earbuds I have at hand at the moment. And before we get into this, I have to make something clear. This time I'm just quickly going through a few of the best earbuds I own, highlighting some of the pros and cons of each compared to the Sony XM4, so this video is nothing like my other, more in-depth reviews and comparisons, but I thought it might be an interesting exercise to do something different for once. So my list of worthy earbuds includes the Bose and Wilkins PI5, the Sennheiser Momentum TWS 2, the Master Dynamic MW08, the Bose QC Earbuds, the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, the Jabra Elite 85T, and the new Jaybird Vista 2. You can find timestamps in the description down below, so you can easily jump to the earbuds you are the most interested in. But let's start with the Bose QC Earbuds. I covered their ANC capabilities in details in my XM4 review already, so now let me just say that they perform roughly the same when it comes to active noise cancellation, ambient mode or wind noise. These two must be definitely on the top of your list if you want the best ANC. Which one is the best? I really cannot tell, so let's just call it a tie. But the Sony wins the size and portability contest, no question about it. The Bose QC buds are larger and heavier, however I found them a bit more comfortable than the XM4 in short-term use because of the soft ear tips and wings, which can distribute their weight quite evenly. But their bigger size becomes an issue in the long run, as the earbuds can cause some discomfort, and there is really no excuse for their huge case. Both buds are IPX4 rated, but I wouldn't use either of them for workouts. Both Sony and Bose have better options for gym goers and runners, such as the Sony WF-1000N or the Bose Sport Earbuds. Battery life is 6 hours on the Bose versus 8 hours on the Sony with ANC turned on, so that's another win for the XM4. Sony wins the total playtime comparison too. Both cases are Qi wireless charging compatible. Controls are a bit crippled on both, as neither of the two buds can offer full functionality, but the Sony software has more options and settings, including custom EQ, adaptive noise cancelling, and speak to chat for example, and there are also more smart features on the Sony buds. Both have in-ear sensors for autoplay pause, but only the Sony buds support single bud mode. And in general, the Sony buds come out on top in terms of connection with Bluetooth 5.2 and LDAC support, while the Bose have Bluetooth 5.1 with only AAC and SBC on board. Neither of them support multi-point use. I prefer the well-balanced, rich and detailed sound of the Bose, but bass heads should definitely choose the Sony.
And here is a quick phone call quality comparison, starting with the XM4 in a quiet room, and now switching over to the Bose QC earbuds to hear if there is any difference in the tonality and clarity of my voice. And now let's turn on some ambient chatter to see how the Sony can handle such noise. And when we switch over to the Bose, we can hear if they are doing a better job in this scenario or not.
And now a quick answer to the which one I prefer question, which you keep asking me in the comments. Well, it's very close and it's a tough one too, but out of these two buds I would probably pick the Sony due to their smaller size and better functionality overall. However, you can find good deals on the Bose these days, which could easily tip the scales in their favor, especially if you prefer their more balanced sound. Next are the new Bose and Wilkins earbuds, both the PI5 and the PI7, but we are focusing on the top-of-the-line crazy expensive PI7 here. I know that the PI5 are actually closer in price to the XM4 at around $250, and they are basically the same as the PI7 in terms of their design and build quality, but after my reviews of each, I actually kept the PI7 only because they can offer some extra features no other earbuds can do. And that's the wireless audio transmitting built into the case, which can turn any device with a headphone jack or a USB port into your wireless music source. And I already told you the biggest difference between the PI7 and the XM4. But to dig a bit deeper, I found the B&W buds more comfortable than the Sonys due to their smaller size. Both the 5 and the 7 got an IP54 rating, and I found them capable of handling some running easily. The IPX4 rating and the less than perfect fit make the Sony less suitable for workouts. The The PI7 uses Bluetooth 5.0 with aptX adaptive support, which includes aptX low latency, aptX HD with 24-bit high-res, and aptX regular. The PI5 only supports aptX regular, while the XM4 comes with Bluetooth 5.2 and LDAC on board. All three buds support single bud mode, but multi-point use is still nowhere to be found. So the connection is best on the PI7 in my opinion, especially when taking the audio retransmitting feature into consideration. And the PI7 also sounds better than the XM4 with a bit more forward, less bass heavy and a more detailed sound signature. The PI5 are very similar to the Sony in terms of their bass performance, but I couldn't compare them head to head as I don't have the PI5 anymore. The 8-hour battery life of the XM4 is clearly better than the 3-4 hours of use you can get out of either Bowers & Wilkins buds on a single charge. All three cases can be charged wirelessly, but I find the build quality of the B&W cases a bit ridiculous, especially on the PI7, which cost $400. The Sony case is more solidly built and it is smaller too. The active noise cancelling works better on the XM4 and the Sony app offers more flexible settings too. The surrounding noises sound a bit more amplified in ambient mode at maximum setting on the PI7, and along with it comes a bit stronger wind noise too. In ANC mode, wind noise is roughly the same on both buds.
When it comes to phone calls, this is what you get from the XM4, and this is what you can expect from the Bowers & Wilkins PI7 in a quiet room. Turning on some noise makes the Sony bud sound like this, and now you can hear how the PI7 fares with some ambient chatter around me.
And out of these three buds, I would pick the PI7 only if they weren't that expensive, so that leaves me with no choice but to go with the Sony XM4. The Jabra Elite 85T are comfortable and small, and I also prefer their design over the Sony. Both earbuds have a basic IPX4 protection against splashes, but neither of the buds can provide me with a tight fit, so probably neither of them are your best bet for exercise, but of course they can do the job if that's what you want, as long as they fit in your ears perfectly. The two cases are similar in their overall footprint, but their proportions are a bit different. Both cases are solidly built, and they are compatible with the Qi wireless charging standard. The Jabra buds are very strong contenders in the active noise cancelling game, and they offer a similarly wide range of options and settings in their app as the Sony, but the XM4 have the edge in noise cancelling performance. The Jabra buds have a tiny bit stronger ambient mode, however, wind noise is worse on the 85Ts regardless of what mode you are in or what settings you use. And the Sony buds also perform better in the single charge battery life test, as they can last up to 8 hours with ANC on compared to the 5.5 hours playtime of the Jabra. But the 85T make up for the difference in total playtime, as they can last up to 25 hours while the Sony can last around 24 hours. Both smartphone apps are stacked with features, but I prefer using the Jabra Sound Plus app, and it takes a clear win in terms of customization too. We get actual buttons with full functionality on the Jabra, so that's another score for the Elite 85T, as the touch controls are not so perfect on the Sony. Both earbuds have in-ear sensors for autoplay pause. Connection can go either way depending on your preferences. There is Bluetooth 5.2 with LDAC support on the XM4, while the Jabra buds come with Bluetooth 5.1 with support for SBC and AAC only. So far, Sony has the clear lead, but the Jabra buds are the only ones in this test that can connect to any two devices simultaneously, so that's a huge win for those who need multi-point use. And while that's a unique selling point of the 85T, Jabra loses scores due to the lack of single bud mode support. Each of the Sony buds can be used on their own, so it's up to you which feature you need more. Both earbuds have an elevated bass response, but the Sony buds deliver more details and their sound is more spacious too. Both apps have EQ presets as well as custom EQ settings, but sonically I would say the Sony has the edge over the Jabra. And there is the constant hissing in the left earbud, which is still noticeable on the Elite 85T.
Phone call quality is the next thing we have to have a look at. These are the Sony buds, and now I switch to the Jabra Elite 85T to hear which one sounds better in a quiet room. Turning on ambient chatter puts their noise filtering at work, as you can hear it on the XM4, and now let's give the Jabra a chance to prove if they are any better at blocking out noise during phone calls.
Out of these two buds, I would only pick the Jabra if I really needed multi-point use, but otherwise my vote goes to the Sony. To my biggest surprise, the most questions I got in the comments was regarding the Master Dynamic MW08. I expressed how much I love these buds in my review, so maybe I shouldn't be that surprised after all. But let's see what you get with the MW08, which you cannot get if you buy the XM4. In short, a unique design, an impressive build quality and truly premium materials. The MW08 buds have a ceramic shell, their case is made of stainless steel, and there are beryllium drivers inside, while the Sony is, well, mostly plastic. Of course, the metal case is much heavier and it doesn't have Qi wireless charging, but it screams quality and durability. And even though they are more comfortable than the XM4, the fit is less secure on the MW08, so these are also not meant to be used for sports in my opinion, regardless of their IPX5 rating. The Sony buds are IPX4 only, but they fit in my ears a bit more snugly. Battery life is roughly the same at around 12 hours with ANC turned off, but when you turn on the active noise cancelling, the MW08 takes the lead with 10 hours of playtime versus 8 on the XM4. But the ANC itself is far more advanced on the Sony buds, both in terms of performance and customization. Their ambient modes sound similarly natural without any noises being over-amplified, but I found wind noise to be less of an issue on the MW08, not necessarily in terms of its intensity, but it's somewhat less annoying and it gets pretty good actually if you switch to voice mode within ambient mode. But the Sony Headphones app offers much more options not only for their ANC settings, but there are more features in general too. Adaptive noise cancelling, speak to chat, quick attention or an EQ, which is all missing from the Master Dynamic app. However, I prefer the physical buttons on the MW08, and not just because they are really comfortable to use, but also because they have all the functions. Play, pause, track and volume controls, ambient modes, phone calls and voice assistant, all at the same time, while you have to make certain trade-offs on the controls with the XM4. So Sony wins in software features, but Master Dynamic scores a big one with its hardware. Both earbuds come with Bluetooth 5.2 on board, and while Sony uses their proprietary LDAC codec for higher quality music playback, Master Dynamic opted for using aptX Adaptive. I really like the warm and rich sound of the MW08, which is very similar to what the Sony buds can deliver, but the XM4 turns the bass up a notch and it has a more extended top end too, so pick that one if you need the extra energy in your sound. I would probably choose the Master Dynamic as I find them more comfortable to listen to in the long run, but that's just a matter of personal taste. And the Sony app has an EQ which can help you tweak their sound a bit, so yeah, this one is not quite that obvious. But out of these two, my pick would be the Master Dynamic MW08, even though they are slightly more expensive, but the premium build quality is worth every penny in my opinion. However, if you need all the software wizardry and the better ANC, then you should go with the Sony.
And before I forget, let's quickly make a phone call with both for comparison's sake. First you can hear my voice through the mics on the MW08, and now we switch over to the Sony so you can hear what differences there are in a quiet room. If we add some ambient chatter to the mix, then this is what you can expect from the MW08, and this is how the Sony WF-1000XM4 can manage the same situation.
Another very popular pair of earbuds, the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, take the lead over the Sony XM4 when it comes to their size and comfort. But I found their fit too loose, so the Sony buds take that one. As far as weather sealing is concerned, there is an IPX4 badge on the XM4 versus IPX7 on the Galaxy Buds Pro, but again, the fit is very loose on the Samsung and the Sony is not super tight either, so I wouldn't take either of them with me on my runs for sure. The Samsung case is smaller, but both are equally well built and you will get Qi wireless charging with both. The 8-hour battery life of the Sony is much better than the 5 hours you can get out of the Samsung with ANC on. Connection is a clear win for the Sony, as the Samsung only supports the SBC and the AAC codecs, no aptX or LDAC there. But at least both buds support single bud mode. The Galaxy Buds Pro support multi-point use too, but it's limited to be used with certain Samsung devices, so in my case that doesn't really count. In terms of controls, I prefer using the touchpads on the XM4, but both have similar limitations in their functionality. The in-ear sensors work only if you take both Samsung buds out of your ears, while the autoplay pause works as it should on the Sony, so regardless of which earbud you take out, the music playback will pause. There are plenty of features in both smartphone apps, but a huge selection of functions are only available on Samsung phones, so Sony has the software advantage in my opinion. And the Sony keeps its lead when it comes to active noise cancelling too, as I wasn't quite impressed by what the Samsung buds could do in terms of dampening noises. However, the ambient mode sounds much more intense on the Galaxy Buds Pro, which means worse wind noise performance too. But their less than stellar ANC performance in general can be the result of their rather loose fit in my ears, so you might have a totally different experience as far as active noise cancelling goes. I like the open and clear sound of the Samsung, and it has great separation too, but I miss a little bit of power and warmth from the mid-bass. If you want more impact in your songs, then the Sony is the obvious way to go.
Now let's put them up against each other in a quick phone call quality test. So far you heard the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, and now this is how the XM4 can do the same job in a quiet room. After turning on some ambient noise, we can hear if there is any difference in how the Samsung Buds perform compared to what the Sony Buds can do in terms of noise filtering.
If I had to choose between these two buds, I would definitely go with the Sony WF-1000XM4. Next up are the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2.0 earbuds. I pretty much love the design of the Momentum buds, and their case is one of the best looking ones too, but it's much larger than the Sony case and it doesn't support wireless charging. However, the Momentum buds themselves are a bit smaller than the XM4, and I found their comfort and their fit better in my ears. The two buds share the same IPX4 rating, but neither of these are real gym earbuds. The batteries last longer on the Sony, as the Momentums will only last around 5 hours with ANC turned on, while the XM4 can add an extra 3 hours of use to that. The Sony XM4 also have a not so slight advantage as far as their connection goes. The Sennheiser comes with Bluetooth 5.1 and aptX support, but there is no single bud mode, while the Sony comes with Bluetooth 5.2, LDAC and support for independent use as well. No multi-point use on either. The touch controls are kind of perfect on the Sennheiser buds, and so is their customization in the app, so this one definitely goes to the Momentum too. But the Sony Headphones app offers a more comprehensive feature set, so the XM4 wins the software battle in general. Both buds have in-ear sensors for autoplay modes. ANC works a tiny bit better on the XM4, and we also get more options in the software to fine-tune it. You can basically turn ANC and ambient mode on and off on the Sennheisers, and that's it. But ambient mode is much stronger on the Momentum 2s, but so is wind noise. The sound quality comparison is a tough one, but I would lean towards the more calm and mature sounding Sennheisers. Both have great bass with good mid-range clarity and details in the highs, but I find listening to the Sennheisers a bit more comforting and relaxing, maybe because there is a bit less energy in the upper mid-range and lower treble. So if I had to pick one, I would probably still choose the Sennheiser Momentums, especially if I could find a good deal on them, which happens more and more often recently.
And again, here's a quick phone call test to see which earbuds can deliver better clarity. Is it the Sennheisers or is it the Sonys that you prefer when it comes to voice transmission quality? And what about noise? Let me turn on some ambient chatter to see how the noise filtering algorithm in the Momentum 2s can get rid of background noise compared to the performance of the Sony WF-1000XM4 in the very same scenario.
And last but not least, let's see the Jaybird Vista 2, which I reviewed not long ago. The Vista buds have a clear advantage in the size, fit and comfort department. Their IP68 rating and their ruggedness cannot even be touched by the XM4. But that's no surprise, as the Jaybirds are dedicated sport earbuds, while the Sonys are not. The Jaybird case is slightly bigger, but it has Qi wireless charging support now, the same way as the Sony. Battery life is longer on the XM4, it's 8 hours versus 6 with ANC on. And the ANC itself also works much better on the Sony buds, and they also offer more settings and smart options too. The ambient mode is similar on both in terms of intensity, but it sounds less natural on the Jaybird. Wind noise is better on the Jaybird in ambient mode, but it's slightly worse than the Sony when ANC is turned on. And if the wind gets really strong, that crackling noise which I mentioned in my Vista 2 review can become really frustrating. The Sony buds take a clear win when it comes to connection. Bluetooth 5.2 with LDAC versus Bluetooth 5.0 with SBC and AAC only. Both earbuds support single bud mode, but neither of the two support multi-point use. Both smartphone apps have plenty of features including custom EQ, but maybe the Sony has a bit more to offer here. The controls are tricky as I like the full functionality of the physical buttons on the Vista 2, but the touch controls are more comfortable to use on the Sony. The actual buttons can come in handy in messy conditions or during a workout though, so I might lean toward the Jaybird, but I'm not quite sure as in everyday use the touch controls still have the advantage. But what I'm sure about is that I prefer the more balanced sound of the Vista 2, and I also like using their EQ more.
And this is what you can expect from the Jaybird Vista 2 when it comes to phone call quality compared to the Sony WF-1000XM4 in a quiet room. And in a not so quiet room where there is some ambient chatter around you, this is what the Jaybird sounds like, and this is what you get from the XM4 as far as voice transmission quality is concerned.
So which one of these two would I pick? Well, honestly, I would pick them both. The Sony is perfect for everyday use in almost any scenario, and the Jaybird is meant to be used for workouts, while it can also function perfectly well as an all-rounder. But if I was forced to choose between them, I would probably go with the Jaybird Vista 2 because they are simply a better fit for my personal needs, and they also cost much less than the Sony. And before I wrap it up, let me just quickly add another pair of earbuds to the list, as an honorable mention if you like, the Kef Mu3. These little Kef buds are not really on par with the XM4 in terms of features, but I love how tiny and comfortable they are, and more importantly, I find their rich and cohesive sound to be a better match to my personal taste, and the 9 hours battery life is not too bad at all either. But their design can be divisive, there are no fancy codecs on offer, the ANC is very basic, and you don't even get a smartphone app, yet at the end of the day I can easily see myself choosing these buds over the Sony XM4 if I had to make such a decision. And usually at this stage in my videos I draw some sort of a conclusion, but in this case there is no need to do that. There are no winners here, as I only shared my personal thoughts on these buds in comparison to the Sony WF-1000XM4. And now it's time for you to share your own thoughts in the comments down below. I would also love to know whether you like this format or not, so don't be shy and tell me what you think, as I'm eager to learn more about your preferences so I can create better and better content for you in the future. But right now, if you like the video, then please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, and subscribing to my channel would also be much appreciated. And as I just said, all comments are welcome, except the ones asking for more comparisons. Just kidding. Or am I? Okay, that's enough. Have a nice day everyone, and thank you for watching. See you next time. Experiment over and out.